Hi, welcome to Dot Therapy. Uh, if not dots, it could be any form of art. I'm just happy that you're taking some time for yourself to create and find your inner self. I think it's super important for adults to go through this journey. Alright, let's have some fun and make a lot of mistakes. For this exercise, you're gonna need your book, the one with the black papers, your gel pens, your rounding tool, a pencil, and that's how you start. Start by making a circle, just using your rounding tool and a pencil, and make these inner circles from the biggest one to the smallest one on the outer line. Simple, easy, don't rush it. My videos are usually sped up a little bit, so if I'm going too fast, feel free to pause and then move forward. So first what I'm doing is trying to arrange the pens. I'm gonna try and keep the lighter colors on the left side, the brighter ones, and the ones that aren't so bright, I'm gonna try to keep them on the other side. But basically just trying to create a range. For this one, we'll use all colors in the start except for white. So usually I go from light to dark or warm to cold, and this in a way helps kind of create a nice smooth effect. And there's different ways you can split it, but ideally just for now, because we're working with black paper, you just need to keep two things in mind. We start with a darker color, any color that you like, and then move on to something lighter. Now, I want you to be mindful and slow when you're making these dots, and try to keep a rule in your head that I want every dot to be unique. Every single dot has to be a different size. They don't need to be super perfect, but you need to put your heart in it. Notice how the ink stays on the paper. And just keep going. And now I'm gonna add light green and just see how it looks. Slowly observe how the same image completely changes when you add a few colors to it, or how the same colors look completely different when you see them together. Something really cool about pointillism is that unlike mixing actual paints physically, the user is actually mixing the colors in their head. So let's say I use like red, blue, green, different colored dots. But when I zoom out, these could look completely different based on how I've used these dots. And this is what I love about dot work as well. Like, every piece has to be differently interpreted because the user is mixing the colors in their head through different dots. The dots are actually just single color very flat shades. So for this exercise, I encourage you guys to just use any two colors and see how colors start playing with each other. Eventually things will get complex and you'll create new rules for yourself, like, hey, I want to see how three colors look and what they're creating. But for now, because we're starting off, I don't want to go deep into color theory. I just want you guys to have fun and make a lot of mistakes. And the easiest way is to create just simple rules like this one. We use a light color and a dark color, and we see how these colors look with each other. That's it. Nothing complex about it. Okay, so now I'm gonna work with magenta. I absolutely love how I play with different colors based on my different moods. When I just started my art journey, I didn't quite realize that. But usually when I would want to relax, I would automatically on those days paint a lot more blue dots. If I was excited about something or I had a lot of energy, I remember I would paint a lot more like red and orange and warm colored dots. So sometimes maybe it's too complicated to understand the mood that you're in. But maybe after playing with dots for a bit, you're automatically gonna know. I've noticed this time and again, and the more you're gonna get into the practice, I feel you're gonna start noticing this too. There are things that your artwork will say about you or your mood or what you're going through, even if your mind hasn't properly processed that emotion yet. Sometimes in life we have some super complicated challenges, and playing with colors and just sitting with your thoughts, a pen, a paper, this could do wonders to just understand what you're going through. I feel it's super important to understand your inner self, to understand your own emotions. A lot of us weren't taught this when we were young. And the moment you understand your emotions, when you're angry, you're sad, how you're acting up, what kind of mood is causing what kind of behavioral patterns. And this is one of the most wonderful tools to have. And somehow, art and practicing art and sitting with your thoughts is a really cool way to just understand what you're going through and plan better in life, or heal better, or understand things better. I said this before and I'm gonna say this again. I've said this before and I'm gonna say this again, that some of the greatest things that ever happened to our civilization was when human beings sat down with their thoughts, a pen and a paper. From your constitution to major freedom movements to books that have moved and inspired entire generations, it pretty much happened with someone with a very loud mind and lots of thoughts sitting down with a pen. What you're doing right now could be reduced to something like, hey, I'm just doing dots. But behind this simple action, something so much more complex is going on. And as you go deeper in it, as you practice more and more art, you'll form this new relationship with yourself, this new understanding of yourself that you're able to do and express and understand things that even you didn't know you were capable of. Right, so for this one, I'm using red and yellow. It's okay if you don't copy the colors exactly in the same way. Just keep these two rules in mind that I'm going to repeat: a light color and a dark color. Start with the darker color first, and then you move on to the lighter color. And the second part is try to make sure every dot is of a different size, just for you to understand. And this is just for this exercise. In the future, we're going to try to keep all the dots same colors, same sizes, and of different colors. We're going to play a lot with these dot exercises that I discovered in my journey. If you see yourself rushing or like smudging or stumbling, don't worry, it's okay. Instead of starting a new one, for this one, just finish the piece. I promise you the next one will be better. And like I said it before, what's the worst when you make mistakes with art? You're gonna throw away a piece of paper. That's about it. And most often the mistakes are just opportunities. If you see a spot missing and you wanna go back to some things that you've already done, like here I feel I could add one more green dot or make a few dots much better, sure, do it. You're not in a race, and the slower you are, the more fun you have, most likely better the outcome as well. When I first started experimenting and practicing, my hands would keep smudging the parts I'd already painted because the ink was still wet. I still do it sometimes. I would just say, try to be slow, try to be mindful, and sometimes I just like to turn it upside down so my hand doesn't touch the wet parts of the paper. And this makes it easier. Alright, so within the first 4 circles I ended up using 8 colors, and now for the next ones I'm just gonna add the darker colors first, and then I'll fill it up with brighter colors. You can do this exercise however you like. The objective here is just to see up close, because it's never gonna be the same on the screen, how these colors look and how they play with each other. It's kind of like, I call this design the dot yin and yang. There's light and there's darkness, and both together gives us this really cool effect. Alright, so now I'm gonna add the lighter colors. I'm gonna try to keep the combination different. Last time I used dark green and light green. This time I'm using dark green and yellow. So, I strongly encourage you to try as many permutations and combinations. Using these techniques of filling, you could create so many different designs, so many different palettes of your own. And again, remember, because this is pointillism, one of the best things that's happening is that the viewer is mixing the colors in their head, not you physically. So, yeah, play with it, zoom in, and then step back, zoom out, shut one of your eyes, breathe, see how it looks, see how those few dots that you add every time completely changes the vibe, the feeling, the emotion, the appearance of what you're creating. What I absolutely love about this activity of making dots or painting is that it's not very demanding, but I can still focus on it. So I could have some great music next to me and get completely lost in the music and in the artwork at the same time. And I think this is super valuable. There are very few activities that have total immersion but don't burn your brain out. This is the advantage of low stake dopamines. Like when you scroll, the likes, the shares, the news, it's very high dopamine content continuously pushed towards your brain. And with art, it's super cool because you're training your brain to reward yourself just by making a simple dot or just by adding one more pixel to your image. I think the future of mental health will be people not just teaching you how to heal, but people trying to teach you how to have fun and get into flow. Dots is one of the simplest way I found myself to get into flow in some of the hardest situations in my life. So if you've been listening to this video and following this exercise so far, you've probably been painting for the last 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm just really happy that you took time out of your day to do that. I hope this activity or this new thing that you're discovering could turn into a habit of creation. It doesn't have to be dots, but the feeling that you're going through right now while you've just almost finished your painting, that feeling is super important to access, and you have everything within your own means to get this feeling. I don't think you gained anything, but yeah, like after practicing art, you lose a lot. A lot of anger, frustration, confusion, distractions. So yeah, thank you for joining me and creating some awesome off-screen time together. And now towards the end, wherever I see large pockets or spaces of black, I'm gonna add a few more white dots to make my overall image a bit brighter. This is just something fun I do sometimes. It's optional, but yeah, like adding a few more white dots really makes it pop. And now I'm just gonna add a few white dots to the border of the bigger circle, just to give it a slight frame and make it pop. So next time you sit with your pens and you're like, hey, I don't know what to draw, just use the circle tool. You can just create a lot of different small and big circles and start drawing. And having a small grid will also help you understand how much time does it take for you to finish something, right? So like the bigger circles obviously took a lot more time to make the dots there than the smaller circles that you did today. And depending on the amount of free time you have, these quick, easy circle shapes could, yeah, be a nice way to just relax. And even without a plan, you can, within a few minutes, just get into flow state. And if today, after this exercise, you feel like you were in flow state, you feel a bit better, relaxed, less distracted, more focused, a bit calmer, then I think you won. It wasn't about having a great painting or whatever. It was always about the process, never the outcome, at least when it comes to art. I mean, you guys could have generated this, but you chose to sit down and paint this. That's pretty cool.